I talk about this quote from the Dalai Lama, mind you, after I did that, as is the case of my entire career, I got about 370 emails saying, I'm not sure the Dalai Lama said that. He may not have said that exactly. And do you know that that's a very controversial statement? People missed my point. Point is that we are in an era where there is the potential that it will be. And I actually think it's necessary for it to be that women transform the world. I think they also miss the point that I happen to believe that that human being, that being, is the embodiment of compassion, the embodiment of enlightened activity on the planet. For me, has been a reason that when I feel lost or confused, or if I don't know that I can do it, I think about the fact that there is this human being who managed to go through incredible duress to have his country taken, and who continued to walk through the snow and difficulties and through everyone's judgment about what he did, how he handled it, who he was. And then from there, had tremendous courage, and then took that moment in time and actually made that what was the cause that spread his original message. The moments where you get hit by the bomb, you grab the bomb, you use it to break ground, and then you grow a new world. That's what he did. Not only did I choose him for that reason, I chose him for a dark reason. And that is that he was a man, and he was a man who had status or pedigree. And I didn't think at that time that you would listen to me. I was a woman. I didn't have a PhD. I didn't have any letters on any side of my name. I didn't have a title. I didn't have robes. I didn't have the proper amount of money in my account that you would want to listen to me. I didn't have any of the markers of success in the existing world. I was just a woman who had 2 decades of practice in the trenches with women. That doesn't matter. So what I had to do, I thought at that time, and I don't know that it's true, but I do know that what I thought at that time was that I would take this great man and thank you for being the being you are, and I would hide behind him. And I would say to you what I still to this day believe to be true, and that is that it will be woman who transforms the world. But tonight, in the 2.0, I thought I would come out just as me, just say that this is what I believe. You can go through really difficult times, and you can look around and see the people who are in your life and say, these are difficult times, and I am one of the most blessed people I know. And I know people with no titles, and I know people with big titles. I know people who put names in front of their names, right? And that works because they're part of that world. And so they'll sign their letters sincerely, warmly, hugs, whenever it is, their name, their title, and then their name. I just thought what I'd start to do is sign with my title. So I sign it, Woman Nicole. That's who I am. That is my exalted title. And every now and again, I shake it up and I'll call it erotic artist. Or I'll call it storyteller, because that's really what I am. I'm a collector of stories and a perceiver of the world in various ways. And I look for stories that demonstrate the numinous, the possible from the impossible, or the visible from the invisible. That's what I look for, stories that tell me on a daily basis, it can happen, it can happen, it can happen. This that I see, this that I imagine is possible. There's this idea of a mandala. And, we have this idea sometimes in the West that it's this, kind of weird looking picture that they don't really look like art in and of themselves sometimes. I got to be honest. I actually went to see the Dalai Lama, and there were some monks who were making a mandala from sand. And then after days, just wiped it away to demonstrate the power of impermanence. I mean, it's just an incredible concept. But we have this idea that it's an over there somewhere. But we live in a mandala. Everyone does. There are the imaginal worlds that we live in. Robert Thurman says, we're confused if we think we aren't in a mandala right here, right now. Buckminster Fuller says the mandala we live in is one of scarcity and lack. And that what grows from the ground of that particular mandala is greed, hatred, and delusion. That's what arises. And I would say that mandala is what it is because it was built without the feminine. It was built without the joy and the ecstasy and the rapture and the play and the theater that is woman. What we're trying to tame and subdue is actually what's missing from our perspective. So much so that it looks trivial, looks meaningless. And then what ends up happening is that focus, without that levity, roots down in suffering itself in a way that it can't get back up. So I look for stories that say that it's possible. I look for ideas of how I, as a woman, can begin to see things differently. One of my great heroes, and I don't say this lightly, I love people. I think everyone's great. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. But there are a few people, the medium number of people, who I would call heroes in my life. One of them happens to be here tonight, Jim Harriet. He's a complexity mathematician from Stanford who does brain modeling. And I just said, because I am who I am, wow, Jim, we should do some talks together. Sort of like complexity mathematician. It was complexity mathematics and Eros, and just see what happens. And we ended up doing these talks regularly for like a long time. And he says these things. Oh yes, Eros is turning the world right side up, that begin to shift the way that I see things and understand things. Everyone's looking for the meaning of Eros, but they don't realize that Eros is actually what bestows meaning. This idea, though, of turning the world right side up, we don't even realize in some ways that it's upside down. I talk often about whatever you would call that person, my consort, my guide. For many years, we practiced Om. He had tremendous authority. He used that authority in really exquisite and sophisticated ways. He used that authority to liberate me as a woman, to liberate me despite myself. That's really the challenge, right? One of the experiences he gave me was billed as the perfection argument. In this billing, they argue for up to 4 hours for your perfection, and you argue against it. I'm down with that because there's no doubt I'll win. I'm a woman. I can definitely win. I mean, I can go for hours on all of my flaws. And I was on the top speech and debate team in Northern California. I mean, I was badass. I was sure I was going to win. Ray said he'd take me. The only reason I really, really wanted to go, other than he gave me great adventures, was that he said I'd get a necklace. And quite a few people in the community had this necklace, and the necklace signified very much like Miss Millie Antilli, that you knew something that other people didn't know. So I wanted the necklace. I wanted to be cool. I don't know. I was willing to even lose the debate in order to get that necklace. So he took me on a property that was very similar to this property. We went and walked. And so there's 3 white chairs and there's a table. On the table is the necklace. And then there's a black chair. Now, the black chair is for me, apparently, and this is my judge and jury. So we start in, right? They said, very simply, just, what is it? What's wrong with you? I just started running through the litany. We're at about 2.5 hours, and I'm still going. But there's 3 of them, so it's challenging. So I'm at the deeper stuff now. And you should know at the time I don't know what you call it, a participant in Bay Area Buddhism. So I had a lot of ideas about what a good person was. A lot of ideas. Trungpa talks about spiritual materialism. If you could have just projected a halo onto me and I could have walked in my little spiritual girdle, I would have. That was who I wanted to be. So I was actually getting into the stuff that I had to make the real admissions about. I am really obsessive. I can get obsessed like nobody's business. If I love you, you're not getting away from me. I'm just going to hold with a death grip like Coco held Kitty that she accidentally killed. I'm Sicilian and I love hard. And they said, that's fantastic. Well, you said that you have a life's purpose, a life's calling. You're going to need that kind of obsession, that kind of passion, that kind of holding on, because you're going to definitely be out at sea. And you'll drown if you don't hold it. Okay, you got that one. Okay, so then we continued. And I said, well, I don't think you understand. I'm emotional, but I'm really emotional. And this was a cuss word in Bay Area Buddhism, reactive. I was told by more than one teacher about my reactivity. I get angry, hot-tempered, I cry easily, kind of all over the place. And they said, that's incredible. Wow. That irrepressible creative nature is still alive in you. You didn't manage to snuff it out. Wow, you continue to run the whole spectrum of being a human. And you don't try to pretend that you're locked up and small. That's fantastic. So then we did, another one. And this one, I was really going to get him on because I had gotten everybody I had ever met on this one. Well, I am Sicilian and I can be a little bit dominant. And they said, that's incredible. Because if you really care about something, really care about a purpose, you're going to need to protect it with the ferocity of your entire heart and move forward through obscurations, through difficulties. It's great. I was getting a little bit woozy at this time. So then I said the big one, and that is, well, I don't think you understand. It's over here. I like to party. That's incredible. After this, when we win this argument, you can take us out for shots of whiskey. I don't know what happened in that moment. There's this idea when you work on a koan for a long period of time, you put it in, and it can't be solved by the mind that sees in terms of duality. It just can't. You just can't. So you kind of churn on it and churn on it and churn on it and eating, churn. And then all of a sudden, you don't know what happens. It exhausts itself in some way. And then it just drops into some strange abyss beyond conceptual reality. And my mind just melted. The walls of my mind closed down and I dropped into another place. And then, so you're supposed to declare it. And I could barely speak. I just said, I'm perfect. I couldn't be anything but. This is perfect. I saw just the truth of all things being connected. And if they're all connected, there's no way that this could be a little bubble on a Coke bottle, the imperfect bubble on the Coke bottle, while everything else is perfect. It was just so clear, and it became the ground of this mandala, changed everything.